today I'm going to be playing this Patreon deck from Dickle Pickle, and this deck is built around Shudderwock. But unlike other Shudderwock decks you may have seen, the win condition here is Shudderwock casting De Undertaker's Battlecry, and Undertaker is giving us the Dancing Swords Death Rattle. So when our Shudderwock dies, the opponent draws a card, and we get to mill them. Now, I'm going to be completely honest with you. At first, I did not understand this deck. But it turns out what happens is, after you play Shudderwock with, Grumble and Chain Gang, you fill your hand and you keep bouncing Shudderwocks, and when the Shudderwocks bounce, they die and trigger their death rattles. So that sets off the Dancing Swords. And because you're able to play like 10 Shudderwocks in a turn, then it actually does kill them relatively fast. Well, not fast by animations, but fast by number of Shudderwocks played, I guess. So yeah, other than the combo, we've got a lot of card draw, but we do want card draw that doesn't draw off of Shudderwock, basically. So like, if we played Novice Engineer, we would fatigue playing a bunch of Shudderwocks with Novice Engineers. But since we play Primal Dungeoneer, where it targets a spell, if we don't have spells in our deck, and it doesn't draw, so we don't fatigue. And then we have like Manatide Totem and Acolyte of Pain, so we have to be careful with the card draw that we play. We also have to be careful with our death rattles because we do want to be hitting Dancing Swords consistently. Well, I do like the card draw, and Burlock is pretty good against some rogues. I play so much card draw, I think I just want to play this, even though it could like block a weapon later. I have no clue what's happening over there. I already have my only elemental in hand, unfortunately. That is a really dangerous card against my deck. If that hits Shudderwock, Undertaker... I guess those are the only ones I can't really afford to hit, since I have Grumble already. And then if it's like Manatide or Acolyte of Pain, it's actually really good for me. Hopefully the Dungeoneer survives the turn so I can Grumble it. Wow, they didn't want to kill my Chain Gang. It's pretty convenient for me. And now, even if this hits one of the big things, I can just bounce it. Yeah, just some really good stuff to bounce here. I do kind of want some board presence. Let's go ahead and play the Questing Explorer while it still draws. And then drop another Chain Gang.
Nature waits for no one but me.
Tempo, I guess. Maybe I get vanished.
Death does not scare me.
Well, I'm pretty happy to have a full board here so that doesn't draw, or doesn't pull a minion. There's Undertaker. So I just need to find Shudderwock, or even Talon. Kinda seems like my opponent might just be dead on board, though. Don't overdraw Shudderwock, please.
My hand is full.
That is quite okay.
Lightly used armor.
There's not really much value in playing a second Grumble, right? So that's probably just gonna sit in my hand. 9 cards.
Nature waits for no one but me.
I can devolve this, but I just don't really need to.
Lightly used armor.
Do you hear, Amnor?
Did my armor vendor just get sapped? What an interesting play.
Pull some more.
Break it, you body. This wasn't on the map. Ours is the right way. Lightly used armor.
Alright, not a great turn, but I played some stuff. Well, there's my Shudderwock. I can Storm here, but then there's another N'Zoth coming. See what Devolve can do for me. Yeah, this definitely made my opponent's board worse. Value trade here seems nice.
Free me. Bring pain.
Mutanus is really tempting. I don't think it quite makes sense to play it though. Stick with the Talon broomstick I was planning on.
Break it, you buy it. This wasn't on the map.
Next turn can be like Devolve Lightning Storm, or it can just be Shudderwock. I guess I want to save Shudderwock for Tour Guide, right? That is a lot of N'Zoths. Well, they're not even that likely to draw a N'Zoth next turn. 8 out of 19, so less than half the time. Rattlegore. That's fun. Overloading here kind of sucks, but I think it's the play.
Break it, you buy it. This wasn't on the map.
Man, being overloaded is so bad.
I am out of cards.
Hey, I finished my Mutanus quest. Oh cool, I ate in his off, that's pretty good. Another Rattlegore.
Your tour ends here.
My jaws that bite, my claws that catch. My jaws that bite, my claws that catch.
A lot of useless battle cries coming out. That's a good eat.
My jaws that bite, my claws that catch. My jaws that bite, my claws that
Okay, this is taking way too long. I have to mash.
jaws that bite, my claws that catch. My jaws that bite, my claws that catch. My jaws that bite, my
Looks like I'm ending on a grumble, which is pretty bad. I ended on grumble again. Well, that's okay. I have a bunch of Shudderwocks. So this only makes my opponent draw one card, right? Hey, Aiden is off. Why is this still going? Get wrecked. Alright, so this does make my opponent draw... Oh my god, it's still going. Makes my opponent draw 2 cards at the moment. Okay, it's my opponent's turn, finally.
Think. You cannot escape the shadow.
I don't think I care too much about that. It's time for animations. I do have some rush minions in here potentially, so I can't just throw out my hand. Come on. Come on. What is happening? Is my game bugged? Why did my opponent draw so many cards? Oh, because they die when they get bounced. The deck suddenly makes sense to me now. Wait, so do I just do this and they die? There's no nuance to this deck. I've learned. It makes so much sense now. Because when they get bounced to the hand and my hand is full, the death rattle triggers. I get it. They're dead. I didn't even have time to open Minesweeper. Alright, so after playing with this deck, I do have a few opinions on the cards included. One of the main things I noticed is that our board clears overload for 2, which is really obnoxious because that means we can't play Shudderwock on the following turn. So I think I would like to replace these. A pretty easy replacement would be Hagatha's Scheme. Solid board clear, doesn't overload at all. Seems reasonable. Definitely a little bit more expensive than Lightning Storm, but maybe we can get away with it. Another board clear that I'm sort of interested in playing is the Murloc board clear. With Pyromancer Flurgle, after you play a Murloc, deal 1 damage to all enemies, and then Toxfin. So we can give the Flurgle poisonous, and everything it deals damage to will die. And we can also draw into that combination with Ice Fishing, and this deck appreciates the card draw. So I think that's a 3-card combo I'm pretty interested in. We do already play a couple of Murlocs with Burlock and Mutanus, but I'm kind of down to cut both of these Murlocs. It turns out our win condition comes online pretty quick, so I don't think eating our opponent's hand with Mutanus is really that important. Maybe it's good in like specific matchups to snipe quest rewards or something, but I think people can play around that. And then Burlock I think is just a little bit underwhelming. So we can add a card draw and board clear package here. There are still a few other cards in the deck I don't really like much. Lightning Bloom is kind of similar to the board clears in that the overload is just kind of annoying. Animated Broomstick is like okay with Shudderwock, but for it to really be useful, you need your Shudderwock to hit Grumble, then Chain Gang, then Broomstick, which is actually just like pretty unlikely for it to hit in that sequence. Otherwise, you either don't have anything to give the rush to, or you give rush to things and then they just get bounced. So it's just a little bit of an awkward card, I think. And also there's Manatide Totem. It is just a bit of an awkward card. I added the Ice Fishing, which I think is a little bit better of a card draw option. Manatide is definitely fine, but it's awkward. So some cards I have in mind. There's Bolner. We have a lot of battle cries we can use with this. Even if we just copy one battle cry, it's good. Just like an extra little bit of armor out of Armor Vendor. Or we can draw extra cards with Questing Explorer or Primal Dungeoneer. I think it just makes sense in the deck. Then there's also Sandstorm Elemental, which is just a little bit of a board clear, kind of a replacement for the Lightning Storm I cut earlier. Not sure how impactful this will be, but I do want to try it out. And for what it's worth, it's a pretty good battle cry to put into the Shudderwock. It's also another elemental for Primal Dungeoneer, which may or may not be a good thing because we do appreciate Grumble. And finally, I wanted to try out Healing Rain. Just toss a little bit more healing into the deck on top of the Armor Vendors. Had a lot of games where I couldn't find the Armor Vendors and just died. Love to see the Dungeoneer. Baku.
Nature
Break it, you
waits
buy it.
for no one but me.
Alright, so I've got my chain gang for next turn. The rest of my hand is not great though. There's the raid the docks.
Break it, you buy it.
I didn't really have to make that trade, but my opponent's health doesn't matter at all, so whatever.
Someone's gotta lead the charge. Someone's gotta lead the charge.
Grab your cutlass. Let's buckle swash.
Surely that weapon is an Ankar. Pretty bad turn.
Break it, you buy it.
Here for the tour.
Well, at least they can't draw their pirate with Ankar this turn. Very nice.
Of course it's the right way.
Not very nice because my quest is complete.
Yar! It's up to me then.
This is not good. There's a chance Rakara is coming down next turn, which is definitely too early for my liking. Lotheb's kind of nice though. And I do have a couple schemes.
Wretched story. Loot to the
Grab your
bottom.
cutlass. Let's buckle swash.
I don't make mistakes.
I'll just get this down. I need to play it eventually anyway.
Set sail! The Juggernaut is under my command.
Armor vendor's good.
Nature waits for no one but me.
Nice ice fishing. I was 2/3 to hit ice fishing this turn with the Dungeoneer.
Good tickets.
Unfortunate that Toxvin died there. No, I can't bounce it with Grumble. Maybe I should have just gone Scheme this turn. Saved the Murlocs for Grumble specifically. Could have even saved the armor vendor for it as well. I think I want a hero power with this armor vendors. Oh, that's a big weapon for the opponent. Cannon shots hit 2 things and neither of them were Acolyte. Opponents played 2 of those, huh? Well, they gave me a free card off Acolyte, so that was nice of them. Talon plus Hagatha's scheme is really good here. And there's the tour guide for Shudderwock. I might actually be sneaking out a win with this. Looks like I might regret not playing this armor vendor though.
Unity, precision, perfection.
Gotta get through me.
Oh yeah, I haven't played Dancing Swords yet. So I could go like Scheme Swords. Wouldn't be able to hero power with the armor vendor, but I could armor vendor. I'm at 16. My opponent has no board. I shouldn't be dying here very often. Ouch.
Break it, you buy it.
Well, I think the Shudderwock is probably good enough to win the game. I get so much healing here. Alright. Gained 48 armor. Please tell me this can't go face. That's such a big weapon. I'm dead to Mayor Noggenfelger here.
Got a job for me?
You here for the tour? I'm running out of cards.
Probably makes sense to play Chain Gang, I think. I don't know. Alright, looks like the game didn't end here. Hey, I won, and now I can eat my sandwich. Alright, played a bit more with the deck, and I did make a couple more changes. I think I was playing a Sandstorm Elemental and a Healing Rain. What changes did I even make? I added a Glacial Shard, because there is a bit of a slow Shudderwock turn before you really go off, and the Glacial Shard helps there quite a bit. Oh yes, and then I added a second Tour Guide, because it's just kind of a useful card, and you do also kind of need it for your Shudderwock turn. So it frees up the Tour Guide to be used once with like a Primal Dungeoneer or something like that. So yeah, I think I do like the changes I made to the deck. Overall, the Ice Fishing and Murloc stuff performed really well. I didn't really miss anything that I cut, so I think I'm happy with the deck. Now, obviously, there's probably not much actual merit in playing this deck. Even as a Shudderwock deck, you can probably find a more reliable win condition. But hey, if you like the Dancing Swords thing, I think this list is pretty good.